In this video, I'm going to talk about construction of a waffle slab. So this image that you see here comes from the textbook, and it is basically the reflected ceiling plan, like what you see when you look up, of this type of structural system. It's considered a two-way slab, meaning that loads are transferring both in this direction, and I'll turn on the little highlighter, the vertical and the horizontal. So, in other words, a one-way slab, things would run either one way or the other way, but in this type of slab, the loads get distributed in two directions. So we'll be adding this waffle slab to our cavity wall structure, and it will be at the upper level, the sort of roof ceiling of the main level and the upper level. When you go to your section, you may recall that you created a level 2 and level 3. For some of these structures, we will have a floor at level 2, like this one right here. But for this one, instead of creating a level 2 and a level 3, we'll just have the waffle slab at this higher level. And the reason for that is, a waffle slab, it has a little bit more intensity in terms of labor and construction. So it's not something that you would want to conceal behind a drop ceiling or something like that. It is a little bit uh, more of an aesthetic choice in terms of systems to use. So instead of having kind of relatively low heights here, we'll have really tall ceilings and this waffle slab at this elevation. Before we begin, we're going to need to load a family into the file. So I'm going to go to Load Autodesk Family. And when you get here, we'll go back to all results and start again. If you go to structural framing and concrete, you're going to find this pan joist system. Let's click on that and load it into the Revit project. Okay. Now, I'm going to construct this waffle slab while on level 3. So double click there and zoom into the cavity wall structure. Okay, now this is a new type of component that we'll be bringing in for assembly, and it's referred to as a beam system. So what we're going to do is click on the beam system, and we're going to define the boundaries similar to how we did the slab on grade. So I'll start off sketching the beam system, and I'll use the rectangle tool. Now we're going to place this on the inside of the concrete masonry units. So I'm going to click right here. Now referring back to the image in the textbook, you'll notice that there is an area around this column here where there are no recessed pan sort of voids like here, okay? The beams, which are running in two directions, just become one massive concrete slab here. So we're going to make an area within that assembly where we can put a deeper concrete slab. To make that deeper area, I'm going to create another rectangle inside the boundary. I want it to snap to this intersection. So if it doesn't find it, you can right click and do zoom overrides, intersection. And I want to move it to 6 feet 6 inches in both directions. Okay, and then I'm going to move it so it's centered. So I'll move it 3 feet, 3 inches in this direction and 3 feet, 3 inches in the other direction. Okay, now for my spacing, I'm going to change this value to be 3 feet. It'll be more closely spaced than the default. And then click the check mark. Now you may see these structural identification tags, and you can turn those off. Turn them off. You can go to over here where you're in the level 3 plan, go to visibility graphics, click on edit, go to annotation categories, scroll down to structural framing tags and uncheck the box. Apply and say okay. All right, now we can see that we have these framing members going east-west. For the waffle slab, we also need them to go north and south. So what we'll do is we'll make a copy and then we'll rotate the direction of the beams. So if I want to select an element here, if I click on it, I'm only going to get one of them, but we want to select the whole system. So I'm going to just hover over one of these without clicking and hit tab. Now pick. Okay, now I have the option of selecting something. And what I'm going to do is copy it and I'm going to paste it. And you should see the paste tool is now no longer gray tone if you've properly selected it. It can take a couple of attempts to get that to happen, but once you've selected the floor system, the beam system, hit the copy and then go to paste, and we're going to say aligned to same place. You will get a notification that you have two things sitting on top of one another, and that will count as double counting, but that's okay. We're fine with that. While it's still selected, we're going to edit the boundary, and where it says beam direction, so we'll click on beam direction. See how it's identified the east-west? If you click on one of the north-south ones, it will flip it. And then you can check mark. Right, so now you should see that the waffle slab looks more like a waffle slab. And what we'll need to do next is create the slab that sits on top, but also the slab that will be this thickened part here. So I'm going to go to the architecture tab, and I'm going to go to the floor systems, architectural floor. I have a 6-inch slab that I've made for the slab on grade. I'm going to edit the type. Before we go and proceed with this, I do want to talk a little bit about the dimensions that we have here. So I have a floor section or a section to the building, and I'm going to go to that section, but I'm going to shift this up a little bit so that it's showing what it looks like through the void spaces. Okay, so I've just dragged that up a little bit, and now I'm going to go to section 1, so you can see the joists, the pan joists that drop down. Okay. So in the middle section, we'll be adding that deepened area right here. And also, if you were to click on one of these joists, you're going to see a little bit of information about the joist. Okay. So you'll see some, if we click on edit type, for example, you'll see that it's sitting 4.5 inches below level 3 because that's where our slab is going to go. The width of that pan joist is 5, and the height from the bottom of it to the what would be the top of the slab will be 14 inches. So let me go back to what I was doing before, level 3. And again, I want to go back to floor, concrete slab, 6 inches. Let's make a duplicate. This one is going to be 9.5 inches. And the reason for that is that we have 4.5 inch slab sitting on top of it. So the total thickness is going to be 14 inches or 1 foot 2 inches. Okay, I've named it 9.5. Now I'm going to actually leave that as 0, and this will be 9.5. Say okay. Okay. Right. Now I can go ahead and make a rectangle that represents that dropped slab section. And, you know, I think it's not snapping to the points that I want it to be. So I'm going to shift things around a little bit here. Let's make this 3 feet 3 exactly. You can see if you drag some of these dimension strings, if I want to place it at the column line, 2 feet 3. This one here. Three. Okay. So we have consistency is really what we're looking for here. And let's do the check mark. Okay, so now I've got that slab sitting within the joist system. And we'll add a slab on top of it. One thing that you'll want to do is verify the height of this section of slab. So if you select it, you'll notice it's set to be at 0, 0, and it actually is going to sit below the concrete slab that will go across the top of the whole waffle slab. So we want to drop that down -4.5. Okay, so now if I click on it again, and by the way, you know, you'll find it useful as we get more things in the file, that if you hover over things and you keep clicking tab, you'll eventually be able to select the object that you want it to. So I'm just checking, and -4.5 is where it should be. All right, so I'm going to go to floor again and edit type. And this time I will make a duplicate that will be 4.5 inches and change the thickness that assembly and say okay. Now with my boundary line, I'm going to snap to the inside of the CMU. And I'll come up to the top here, inside of CMU, hit the check mark. We can leave it unattached for now. Okay, so now you won't see anything because we're looking at the top of the slab there. And if I go to my section, you're going to start to see more of those elements. These will actually be an integral part of the concrete pour. So we're going to eliminate these joints between them. I'm going to click on join. Do that again. So yeah, this whole, all the ones running north-south are joined to that slab above. And we don't need to do the joining in the north-south direction because this is the section that we'll be detailing and that will be showing up on our section sheet. So this kind of concludes this portion. If you want to see what this looks like from below, you can go to the 3D view and click on the far corner and then click on the bottom here. If you zoom in, you can hide those perimeter cavity walls. Select both of these and right click and hide elements in view. Right, and if you want to see more of the slab and what happens with a column joins them, you can also do that from this view. There it is with some of the other elements hidden. If you hit Control Z a few times, you can reveal those elements again. And that's it for this portion of the tutorial.